Wandering Sword is a completely fresh martial arts RPG, and doing the game justice in discussion requires me to define some Chinese terms. And apologies ahead of time if I butcher these pronunciations. I literally practiced them using some YouTube videos designed specifically to help me not mispronounce them, but I'm only human. First of all, Wandering Sword's story, setting, and gameplay are heavily themed around the Chinese genre of wuxia, or martial heroes. The game's setting is defined as Jianghu, which is a very loaded word. It literally means rivers and lakes, but also describes the fictionalized martial arts setting of the 1000 BC to 200 AD era rural China filled with secret organizations, martial arts clans, and outlaws. If you've played the JRPG Suikoden, that game was loosely based off of what many believe to be the first full-length wuxia novel, Water Margin. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the original Chinese name of Water Margin, but Suikoden is the Japanese word for it. In Japan, the game is called Genso Suikoden, or Fantasy Water Margin, and while that game's story definitely parallels the Chinese novel, it isn't something that carried over its wuxia roots as heavily as Wandering Sword does. Wandering Sword is a martial arts story woven into an RPG developed by the Swordsman Studio in Shanghai, China, and it's beautiful. Aside from the main character Yuan Yi's narrative motivations, there's a pervading theme of developing as a shiaku, or wandering martial artist, which carries over into the gameplay. Qi, cultivation, qigong, or lightness, meridians, and all that fun stuff are developed from learning new martial arts skills found throughout the game. The game does a better job of describing exactly what those mean within its context, and some terms like cultivation are so loaded I encourage anybody interested to look it up within the context of wuxia. It's actually a lot more philosophical than I expected and explains a lot of the poetic dialogue within this game. Anyways, there are several ways to develop as a martial artist in Wandering Sword. My favorite was to travel the beautiful open world and snipe skills and equipment from other martial artists wandering the world map or doing business in towns. Doing this, you'll slowly develop into a force capable of taking down powerful masters. However, just doing the main story and being diligent with finding and going through side stories will also develop your character. Finding technique manuals will let you learn skills and teach them to your party members, but only the main character can consult and learn martial skills from other characters. Fighting battles doesn't directly make you stronger, but it does earn you martial points, which can be spent to strengthen your martial skills. The most important martial skills to level up are always the cultivation skills, as strengthening those skills earns your character's meridian points, which can be used to develop your character's stats and acquire unique abilities. Developing all weapon skills is also important as it increases the effectiveness of using that weapon with any skill. There are 5 weapons to specialize in, each with their own features: fists, swords, spears, sabers, and hidden weapons. Yuan Yi is capable of learning every skill in the game, but you'll probably want to choose one weapon to specialize in. They're all powerful once you've obtained enough cultivation and meridian points. Party members will automatically specialize in one weapon and can be developed by reading weapon skill manuals. Cultivation and lightness manuals can be read by all party members to learn the skills. Abilities called life skills can also be developed to level 10. These are things like forging weapons, tailoring armor, cooking food, alchemizing potions, fishing, and collecting materials from the field. Forging and tailoring in particular are extremely important as items created through these methods will always be much stronger than what you find in the game. Wandering Sword will inevitably be compared to Octopath Traveler due to its aesthetics. And while Wandering Sword does have that look and the Unreal 4 engine used for development, it also shares another one of my favorite aspects of Octopath Traveler, and that's how many NPCs are actually worth interacting with. NPCs are very important in this game as they can be a powerful source for new martial arts techniques, leveling up life skills, and items. A few of them will also appear in side stories later. Depending on the NPC, there are options to gift them items to increase affinity with them, consult with them to learn their skills, or spar with them to take their items and your gifted items back if you win. To spar, you need a minimum of 20 affinity, which is easy, but for learning powerful skills, you'll need to raise their affinity to 80 or even 90 in some cases, and spend a good chunk of stamina and martial arts points. If you raise your own party members' affinity high enough, you can unlock their companion quests, which usually lead to them obtaining powerful martial arts skills or useful items. The battle system in this game takes place on a grid controlling up to 5 party members individually in turn-based combat, or only the main character in real-time combat. Sometimes additional characters will join your party of 5 on the battlefield, and things can get really crowded in larger battles. Powerful moves have cooldowns and MP costs, so it can otherwise be used at any time. Combat can also be automated and sped up to 2 times speed, which makes it go by extremely quickly when your party is strong enough or you're sparring weak opponents. If you take the time to find and develop a lot of cultivations and create equipment for your party early on, it's possible to completely automate the combat system in real time at 2 times speed later with a well set up party, which is mostly what I ended up doing. I love the storytelling in this game, and feel like it's one of the biggest strengths of games that heavily utilize pixel character art. The game has some really nice set pieces accompanied by a beautiful soundtrack and plenty of intimate moments between important characters. A lot of this game's best storytelling moments are actually completely optional and sometimes missable companion side quests that either result in recruiting a new party member or further an existing party member's story. If you play this game, I actually encourage you to try to do all the side stories and use a guide on Steam if you have to. The game obviously doesn't have the budget Square Enix has with its HD 2D titles, but Wandering Sword is loaded with heart and originality due to its unique execution of wuxia themes in an RPG framework. The developers are planning on adding New Game Plus and extra content to the game in the future too. I find the slow and steady progression from beginner to near god in martial arts in this game extremely rewarding. The game's open world means there's no clear path, so you can just do what you want and it's fun. Because there are 5 weapon types, and it's likely you only specialize in one for a playthrough, there's replayability for those that want to do it again with a different weapon too. Of course, the game isn't perfect. There's no voice dialogue, even in Chinese. There's a ton of menuing to constantly use skill books, stat up items, and develop your character's strength. But all this menuing also rewards you with highly customized characters through the cultivation and meridian systems. Because not every place has an inn or rest spot, it can be tedious to constantly replenish stamina after sparring or consulting with NPCs numerous times. There's food to replenish stamina too, but the menus are so complex it takes forever to find the food items you need. Since the game isn't a typical fantasy, you're only fighting animals and humans, so there's not much variety there. Even if a lot of the humans do have unique portrait art, many of them will have the same images with different color reworks. The artwork, sprite work, and environments are beautiful though, and there's a lot of dialogue, but it never felt like a waste of time to me. In fact, I wish the game had a glossary of terms and people to keep track of, as there are a lot of important people, cultivation arts, and relevant historical events in the game's world. The version of the game I'm playing has an annoying bug with the Xbox controller on PC that doesn't show you which menu choice you have selected when engaging with characters on the field, but I think this will be fixed on future updates. All in all, I was very impressed with Wandering Sword, and I'm looking forward to future content in this game. I spent a very satisfying 69 hours exploring all the content I could find in the game as of December 5th, 2023. I'll also be very excited to play a sequel, or just another game in this franchise if they decide to develop it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.